Hello, this is Fleur Majestrix, and we're going to be doing an extra part. These are optional parts. You don't need to watch them, but if you want to learn about the Pokemon that you'll find in Uranium, along with hearing any possible mistakes I may have made that I'm trying to fix, I recommend these parts to you. For example, the Leaky Lou commented on part 3 and mentioned that natures give a 10% boost to a stat and a 10% decrease to another stat. I didn't know the exact numbers, so that was very helpful of him. Thank you, Leaky Lou. So, on to the Pokemon. Rap Torch is your fire starter, and it is the offensive starter option. It's the offensive option. It is fire and ground, and it has the ability Flame Body, meaning 30% of the time, if a Pokemon uses there's a 30% chance that if it's hit with a physical move, well, a contact move in general, any move that contacts with Rap Torch, there's a 30% chance they will be burnt, meaning they will take damage at the end of the round, and their attack is cut in half. I find it a very good ability in my opinion. It's just that it's on a squishy Pokemon, so that's kind of a problem, but it's not that bad. Plus, it has an out of battle function where if you have a Pokemon in your if this is in your party and you have like an egg in your party, or basically you cut the amount of steps needed to hatch it in half. That works for any Pokemon with Flame Body, but you can only benefit from one Pokemon with Flame Body, and it does not stack also with the ability Magma Armor. But cutting the amount of steps needed to hatch an egg in half is always nice. Of course, along with the burn. So that's really good. As for its stats, you can see the stats right now. Its main thing is just that it's fast and it hits hard, and fire and ground are two very common attacking typings in Pokemon in general, but they're also very common in competitive play. And a sweeper that has, that can get a same type attack bonus from both fire and ground is really good offensively in general. It's just an amazing thing to have on a Pokemon. Raptorch also gets some decent coverage. I wouldn't say it's amazing, but it gains access to things later on like extreme speed. It can learn Brick Break if you need a fighting move. It can even learn Rock Slide if you're having problems with certain other fire Pokemon. But primarily one fire Pokemon in the game you really only need to care to bring Rock Slide for. But it gets some moves it can use. Rock Slide would be better for flying types, but honestly, a fire move from this probably be enough to kill most of them. It also gets access, of course, to Flare Blitz later. So offense is this thing's main function, and the starters are basically pretty much made to do one thing. Raptorch is designed to just deal damage. It is my favorite of the three, primarily design-wise, and what it does. I like offensive Pokemon. I don't care if it's fast or not. I just like offensive Pokemon, and I also like that it's based around a Velociraptor. So I like Raptorch. It's one of the few Uranium designs I actually like, so I will give credit to Uranium for that. Uh, Next is Orkinks. Orkinks is the defensive starter. It is Grass Steel, and it gets the ability Battle Armor, which prevents it from being critically hit. It shares a typing with Ferrothorn, and much like Ferrothorn, it's defensive, but the problem is I think Iron Barbs or Rough Skin would have been better. That way, if it gets hit with a contact move, it would just deal damage back and make use of its defense. But unfortunately, we get Battle Armor, and when it evolves, it keeps Battle Armor. Speaking of the evolutions, I won't be talking about those until Raptorch evolves. Please ignore the number next to the level for evolution. Yeah. These are its stats again for these are its base stats. They're starters, so their base stats aren't going to be the best, but it's supposed to give a clear indication on what it is. It is defensive, and that's really what Orkinks does. There's a problem primarily, though, that you would have with it, where if you pick it first, your rival battle with Theo originally was a lot harder in the very beginning, because you didn't have access to Leech Seed as you do now, and Electux has an ability that really can turn the entire fight into random chance whether you win or lose. Speaking of Electux is the balance starter. It is Water Electric. Water Electric is a great typing, both, I guess, defensively and offensively. So, hey, it does fit the balance theme in that aspect. And its ability is static, meaning if a move comes in contact with Electux, that means that Pokemon there's a 30% chance that Pokemon will be paralyzed, meaning its speed will be cut in half, and there's a 25% chance it will not be able to even act. So, hey. Its stats, though, feel weird. I don't get Jack of all trades starting from this. I guess I kind of can, but the defenses feel like something like Orking should have had. It should have had like equal defense and special defense, but instead it kind of doesn't, and Electux has it. And yeah, Electux's other weird thing is that I feel move-wise it may suffer the most until it evolves, but it is a really good Pokemon, and if you want to go for Electux, I would recommend it. I just prefer Raptorch for damage. Each of the 3 starters, by the way, can be obtained. Sort of. You have to catch 150 Pokemon, and then when you show that to Professor Bambo, you'll get the other starter. So you get Electux if you chose Raptorch as your starter and you catch 150 Pokemon. You will get Orkinks if you chose Electux, and you will get Raptorch if you chose Orkinks. So there's that. That's kind of cool, but it takes a while to catch 150. So yeah. Chimunk is our Rattata clone. This is where we get to the Route 1 Pokemon. Honestly, I just wouldn't recommend it. Unless you want pickup. That's the only reason it may be useful as pickup. It's not that good at anything, really. And the only interesting thing about it is that it learns some electric moves, but it won't be able to make use of those effectively until it evolves into Knitmonk at level 14, where it gains an electric typing. And that's the only interesting thing about it. It's just, okay, it's slightly fast. That's about it. It's not even, that's all I can say. It's not worth it, in my opinion. Even the design's not worth it, in my opinion. It's not that good looking, in my opinion, and it's not that powerful, in my opinion. So it doesn't have anything I may want in it. And I primarily play for design. So that's a big issue for these. Burby is the Pidgey clone, and it either gets Big Pecs or Analytic. I will state hidden abilities if need be. It's just that the hidden abilities you can't get yet until you beat the game. So really, you can ignore Moody if you're playing this through the main game. If you're just playing through this just to beat the game, then just focus on the 2 abilities aside. Big Pecs prevents its defense from being dropped, and Analytic means if it goes last, if it's using an attacking move, that move does more damage. Otherwise, it's just a normal flying type, and it's a special attacker with some special defense and some HP, and some decent speed. It's faster than Knitmonk when it fully evolves. At level 17, it becomes Avidin, and the only thing of note in Avidin is that it starts learning steel moves. And yeah, that's about it. Yeah, it learns Mirror Shot, and I believe you can also teach it Flash Cannon. I didn't raise it enough to figure that out, unfortunately. I know it didn't learn many other moves until it evolved at level 31 into Splendifowl. So, yeah. It's not a bad design, by the way. I don't mind Splendifowl's design. I just don't. There are just other Pokemon I would prefer to use in Uranium. And again, it just becomes a special attacker that's slightly fast. And if you get an ability, I'd recommend Analytic because, I mean, if it goes second, at least then it can do some more damage. Cubug is our other Route 1 Pokemon. I could recommend this one slightly more just because it does have okay stats when it fully evolves, and it gets access to a dual typing of Fairy at level 10 when it turns into Cubefly. That's the other thing I messed up with. I accidentally said it was 16 or 14 when it evolves. It's actually level 10. Cubug is kind of defensive, but you'll see in each form its physical attack keeps increasing. So does a special attack, but it's a physical attacker. And at level 10, it turns into, Cubefly. It's all throughout all its evolutions, its abilities are either Swarm or Natural Cure. This is where, again, not getting a hit ability would have been is problematic. I really would have liked Magic Bounce, but I recommend Natural Cure just to allow, just to heal from status conditions when you switch out. That's really good. Swarm otherwise is just bug type Blaze, Torrent, and Overgrow, where it increases bug moves when its HP is low. Otherwise, it gets some more defense. I hope you like the defensive stats because you're not going to see them that much in its final form. Nymflora you get at level 24, and at that point is when you get to really utilize what this Pokemon is supposed to be, which is a bug fairy sweeper, physical sweeper. And yes, its defenses did decrease by 10 points each. Yeah, I really wish it would have had those extra defenses, but unfortunately it doesn't. Bug and Fairy aren't bad offensive type. Well, Bug, I may leave a lot to be desired offensively, but Fairy's not a bad typing offensively. Fairy's not even a bad defensive typing because it gets that Dragon immunity, and it does get like Dark resistance. Although its typing alone is good enough against Dark. So yeah, that's Nymflora. I could recommend it just because it's better than the others before. I could recommend Burby throughout like the early game, but not late game. And Flora I could recommend. Maybe you could bring it late game. It's up to you if you really want a fairy type. Magic. Now onto the Pokemon we catch via the Old Rod. I'm just doing it in Route 1 because we can already encounter them. Magikarp. I don't really need to say much about Magikarp. It's Magikarp. We all know Magikarp. He's pretty. You can't really use him in battle until level 15, and even then I wouldn't do it. At level 15 you learn Tackle, but it's not worth it because he just doesn't do much. But if you get him to level 20, he becomes Gyarados. And Gyarados is really good. Water flying, its typing's odd because the flying you really don't make much use of, I feel, as Gyarados. But water is a good offensive typing sometimes, so it's not bad. Its attack stat's really good, and it's just a really good Pokemon. It still remained really good throughout the generation. So, yeah, Gyarados is, of course, a recommendation. Only downside is lack of physical water moves for a while, but it's a price to pay if you want a water type. I recommend a defensive water typing, a defensive water Pokemon. Last is Fortog. Fortog is a water poison typing, and like Togepex shows that can be a good defensive typing. It's just that I feel that Togepex is a better defensive Pokemon than Fortog is. Fortog has the ability Clear Body or Damp. You can't get Water Absorb, so yeah. Clear Body is better because, in my opinion, because you don't get your stats lowered, while Damp just prevents explosion and self-destruct. So yeah. Stat-wise, it's just a special wall that is going to hit hard with special attacks as it evolves. At level 18, it becomes Full Rog, which just again only continues what it does. And lastly, at level 36, it becomes Bubble Rog. And while I like, frogs, toads, and amphibians, all those things, I just don't care much for the design of these. It's a big problem with a lot of them. I'm not a giant fan of a lot of their designs. So Bubble Rog is just a bulky water Pokemon that can hit hard with some special attacks. Yeah, that's really kind of it. It doesn't do much else. It gets a powerful stab Hydro Pump and powerful stab Sludge Waves and Sludge Bombs. That's really all it does. And that's really going to be it for this part. My problem is that it doesn't... Uranium's Route 1 Pokemon suffer the same problem as a lot of most generations, most of the main series Pokemon games Route 1 Pokemon have. They're not all that useful, or if they can be useful, they fall off, and you really don't want a teammate that can fall off in Pokemon, especially in this, although I'd only recommend picking up Burby for the extra teammate, because you might need it for switch fodder, and just, it can have some uses. I guess same could be like Kabog and them, so, yeah. My problem with that is really because Uranium at times I feel they want to act like they're better than the main series Pokemon games, or at least promote that they're doing things differently. But as you may find out, Uranium does a lot of the same Uranium has a lot of the same issues as the main series games, which can lead to the problem of why am I playing this if I can play the main series games? So yeah, I mean, some Pokemon are cool. I like Raptorch, like I said, but that's really about it. This has been Fleur Majestrix, and this is the end of this extra part. Next time you'll see me, we'll be going through Passage Cave. Well, no, we'll be going through Kevlar Town first, then Passage Cave. Anyway, see you next time.